Hello everyone, I don't know if you followed us at 6 p.m. sharp, but we had a few technical difficulties, sorry for that. Here we are, hopefully in the right direction on Facebook. So good evening and thank you for being with us behind your screens and hopefully from all parts of the world. I'm currently at the Glen Moray distillery, the visitor centre. We're on site at the distillery in Elgin, and we're ever so lucky to be in the company of Graham Cool and Ed Dodson. Graham Cool, distillery manager and master distiller, and his predecessor, Edwin Dodson. Hello boys.
Evening.
How are you?
We're good, I think, yes?
Yes.
Ed's loving every minute of this.
Yeah.
He's enjoying becoming a...
First time for you, Ed,
yes.
On Facebook.
Yep.
It wasn't like this in your day?
No.
No Facebook live interviews?
Not even press.
Yeah, did you not get any press at all?
Well, in the latter years, yes, but
yeah.
Away at the beginning.
Yeah.
No distilleries.
No cameras, no paparazzi in Elgin?
No visitor centres, no. Visitors.
Really? No visitor centre at all?
No, I mean Ed was behind this visitor centre here. He fought long and hard for Glen Moray to have a visitor centre. And
was it a common 2004.
thing?
Yeah, it was about 1969 was really the start of it. So,
yeah.
So it wasn't common to have visitor centres at your distillery?
Not early on, but then probably 1990s onwards. It started to be more.
Right.
But Ed retired in 2005 and one of his final things he did was
2004.
You fought for the visitor centre, so thank you to Ed for giving us this space, which is, it's very busy every day. There are lots of people who come here. I'm astounded every time I come to see so many visitors, so many tourists, so many people just come in for a cup of tea, for a cup of coffee, for a piece of cake. It's a really lovely place, so well done to you.
Well, I love coming back for my coffee or my lunch.
Yeah, you come here?
Yeah.
So when did you arrive at Glen Moray?
1974.
74.
As a brewer.
And you were here until 2005.
Yes.
So that's
31 years.
31 years. Wow. What was it like?
Sorry, can I interrupt? I sneaked a little bottle underneath the bar here. So this is a Glen Moray 1974.
1974.
Obviously, year Ed starts, so I think we should have a wee...
There's not much in there.
No, well, I think Ed comes back for more than coffee and lunch. He comes back for a wee bottle, so we'll pour a wee one of this. I'm sure it's going to be lovely. Well, I know it's lovely.
Yes.
So, yes, I think we should toast Ed.
Okay. Here's a start to the interview. Slang.
It'll become much less painful now, Ed, for you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And that was our own malt in these days.
Yes. Does that bring back some memories?
Yeah, the old malt, the salad and box malt things closed in 1979.
Yes.
Well, mainly due to the fact that commercial maltsters were coming in and everything was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
A little less labour intensive and that, so it was cheaper to actually buy in your malt than do it yourself.
Right, okay, but you don't continue in that?
No, when we expanded the distillery in 2016, the shell of the maltings was there, the building, so that was finally knocked down, and then we built the mash tun,
the in-house,
and the wash stills now sit on the same footprint as the maltings. So
has the distillery changed a lot since you were here?
Oh yes, in fact since this company took it over it's really changed.
Yeah. How's it changed for you?
Well, for a start they increased the old distillery part of it up by 50%.
Yep.
So that was a big
bit of a massive change.
Yes, we did look at that, but our sister distillery actually got the money.
Yeah.
So it was cancelled.
So when you arrived, you said you were a brewer?
Yes.
Right. How long did you remain a brewer?
3 years. And then I became assistant.
And then assistant, right.
And then in 87 I took over as manager.
87, so it took you 13, 14 years?
Yes,
13 years,
my predecessor had to retire.
Yes, right. So who did you have just before you? You had Robert Brown?
Yes, Robert Brown.
So really in the history of Glen Moray, what's interesting is that it's been around for 120 years and you were the fourth distillery manager and Graham the fifth. So it really is a career, it's an investment in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when you think of the years that the father and son had and then Mr. Brown, I was pretty short in time that I had as manager.
Do you know what the relationship between Alexander Haddo and Robert Brown was? So the second and third distillers?
No, the Robert Brown actually, when he came back from the war, he was in the RAF, and when he came back from the war, all the people at head office in Leith came back from the war. So he was second last, I think, back, and there was no position for him because they'd all been filled. So he was sent up here as a clerk to the distillery. Okay. And then from there it progressed on. And when Mr. Haddo actually died in the office.
He died in the office? Yes. Ooh. We didn't know this.
And Mr. Brown. And at least Mr. Brown survived because Mr. Haddo's father also died in the distillery.
Oh. So it's a bit like the famous singers who die on stage, and they.
There could be worse ways to go.
I suppose, than surrounded by whiskey.
Yeah. And the angels are close by to take you away.
You just go up with their share.
So when you came to the distillery, you didn't know that you'd make your way to the distillery manager position?
No.
You didn't think you were going in that direction? No. You just were here for work?
Yes, and I suppose just for luck to be in the right place at the right time.
At the right time, yeah.
That's it.
And after 10 or 15 years, you thought maybe you can climb the ladder a little bit?
Well,
how did it work
in the 1980s
days?
they told us we'd retire at 62, so I knew Mr. Brown, was coming up to 62, and I just had to hope that I would be promoted. So as it happened, I was.
Yeah, it was pretty easy for you to get.
Oh yes, I mean it was quite easy because as assistant you're seeing what's happening.
Yeah. And how big was the team in those days?
Oh, I think it would have been nearly 20.
Nearly 20, so quite a big team really. Yes. Yeah. I mean today what's 30
with the visitor centre, but much more work intensive in those days with the maltings and the stills. You would have had a tun room as well as a mashman and a stillman, so you would have had more people on the production side.
So what do you think has changed between the role that you had in those days and the role that you see Graham has today?
Well, now it's more, I think Graham's more an ambassador now. I think that's a big change in most distilleries where the manager's expected to go out, and Graham's just back from a tour of the United States.
That's right, the US of A.
So you were back. I have two sons who live in the US.
Oh really? You have your two sons in the US?
In fact, I arrived in New York the same night as Graham was doing a presentation.
Did you have a dram together?
No, we've missed each other. We crossed paths, but we would have done if we'd known, I'm sure.
So you go to the States often?
Well, I go twice a year, my wife goes 3 or 4.
Okay.
So, but I hate the travel back. It's jet lagged.
It's tiring, it is. I mean,
never thought much about it years ago when I went over,
of course,
when I was working.
Yeah.
But
did you get to travel when you were working?
A bit, not a lot. I'm not an ambassador.
No, I mean it wasn't really much of a thing at that time.
Yeah,
the representation of the brand.
Yeah, it had started.
Yeah.
But I'm a back shop man, not the front. But rear house.
Well, I think Graham would say the same thing, wouldn't you?
Well,
if you could choose.
Your comfort zone is in the distillery and making whiskey, but
of course,
but you have to.
Of course.
You're proud of your product, so you're happy to go in.
So how was the trip in the US? What was
very good. Yeah, went from West Coast to East Coast.
West to East Coast,
in 5 days.
It's incredible.
But, real mix of events.
Yeah. Who did you meet?
Different people. Oh, different. Who did we meet? In LA, different. Lots of journalists, lots of social media people. Type people as well. A couple of magazines, interviews, and quite a few customer
and some
tastings.
And single malt amateurs.
Well, there's no such thing as a single malt amateur.
No.
If you drink single malt,
then you're in
there, so it doesn't matter. No.
But you didn't feel any boundaries. It was just like just talking from one whiskey lover to another.
Not at all. And the Americans understand whiskey because they have their own.
They have
more of
culture.
them. They have that, so they do understand the intricacies of making spirit. So, it's always interesting. Quite a high level of knowledge.
Okay, good. Yeah, so they have that culture there, and you were able to exchange about it all. Yeah.
And I like American whiskey as well. So it's nice for me to have a wee chance to try.
Yeah. What was different about it? How could you describe it?
It's exploding. It's a bit like Scotch whiskey has. You know, the American whiskey, craft whiskey side of things is huge. So it's almost mimicking what we have with craft beer here, where you've got little pop-up distilleries all over the place. Yeah. And they've all got their own intricacies and stories to tell. So
that was interesting then, yeah. And you've used casks from America, haven't you?
We do all the time.
We do.
And it's nice to see these things happening, because these interesting distilleries and interesting casks will, in a few years' time, make their way to Scotland, so we'll be able to use them.
Okay, they haven't made their way here yet?
Well, a lot of these people are still quite young. They're just introducing their whiskies there. So.
I see, okay. So, Ed, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what it was like for you when you were here on an everyday basis. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere was like, and I don't know, just
it was a good working atmosphere, and very few problems. Managed to put myself forward as a brewer. Really a bit of a pretense, really.
Was there much choice in those days? Did people tell you you should maybe make your way into this world, or did you know where you were going?
There was just adverts in the paper for jobs, and this one came up, and another one Speyside, and I got this one. So that was it.
And today, do you still come by often?
I come out for lunch or a coffee.
So you still remain really close to.
I like coming out.
Ed is joining me on a tour. As part of the Whisky Festival, Speyside Whisky Festival. At the end of, it's actually in May this year.
That's nice,
so we're doing a tour,
together.
Double act together.
Have you done that before?
We've no, this is our first.
Okay, so you start working on some jokes and some...
I think there's now some stories that Ed can actually tell without being jailed for, so I hope to get some of them.
Without the camera on.
The people I'm speaking about can't be jailed.
The 30-year limit has passed, so you're safe to divulge the information. But no, looking forward to it. It'll be good fun.
So that's the beginning of May, isn't it?
Beginning of May.
Is it the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th of May?
Yeah, first weekend in May.
First weekend in May.
We do different events. We do lots of tours, and we're doing a breakfast tour.
Oh yes,
so you can have your breakfast.
With a typical Scottish breakfast.
Oh, definitely. And then a tour, then a dram. So that's proved very popular.
Yeah.
And every year we have a barbecue as well, so that's our.
I think I've seen various questions online. When's the next barbecue? When are we going to have a barbecue? That seems to be a popular one.
Tried and tested formula.
I'm going to ask you some questions from some people who are online and who are watching this at the same time. And they've got a few questions. We've got some questions coming through. So. Are we going to see more vintage releases along the lines of the excellent 1994 series that was released last year? That's probably a great question.
Yes, definitely. That was the first of our distillery exclusives that we released last year.
Yes.
We've got another 2 in the pipeline this year, which are both sherry related, Pedro Jimenez sherry finishes. One a 1998 Glen Moray, so that's one of Ed's.
And
a 2010 peated Glen Moray, which is one of mine.
Okay.
We'll continue to the in the future. You'll see some interesting things coming through.
Excellent. So it's always renewing itself. I mean, it's the classic range is I think five finishes or expressions right now, and it's going to grow. 5 expressions. It will grow. Probably maybe another 1 or 2 definitely in the pipeline that I know of this year.
Maybe one this year. Yes.
Okay. Keep your eyes peeled.
There's lots of things working away, bubbling under that will hopefully they'll see the light of day at some point.
We have Hanu who's asking, whose idea was it to start using Chardonnay casks, and why those of all wine casks?
I'll pass this on to Ed because
we did a finish in Chardonnay, and Chenin Blanc was the other one.
Yeah.
And when the casks were emptied, they just lay around, so decided to fill them.
That's how it came about.
That's about it.
There's an empty cask, let's fill it.
Yeah, there's serendipities, you would say.
Absolutely, one of my favourite words.
That's a thing in the whole industry, I think, was built on serendipity.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes it just goes the right way. Yeah.
But good quality casks.
They were very good
salt at that time.
I was surprised how light the wood is.
How light the wood is. Light as in...
just in weight.
Weight.
No, when they come off the back of the lorry, they almost bounce, because they're so light. They're really light feel. Whereas a bourbon barrel, if it comes off, it goes boom.
I didn't realise there was a difference in weight.
So we land them on a big sponge.
Yeah.
So a bourbon barrel, if it misses a sponge, it might survive. Whereas a wine cask will just smash into smithereens. So you need the sponge in the right place.
How old is the still closed barrel? I'm not sure I understand that question. How old is the still closed barrel? Does that mean anything to you?
No, I need a wee bit more information on that. I can't.
Renier de Jean, I'm sorry, we don't really understand that question. How old is the still closed barrel? No, I'm afraid that's the...
No.
Still oldest barrel, maybe?
Oldest, yeah, it could be a...
The oldest.
Could be a spell check.
Yeah, how old is
the oldest barrel? Oldest barrels are 1978.
1978.
We've got four of them.
After you arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Still, and they one of those formed part of the mastery, which was the not Centenary, the 120th anniversary bottling last year. So it was the oldest component.
That's right, 1978.
Mastery,
yes.
But we still have some left.
What do you think of Mastery, Ed?
Well, I love it, but it's too expensive for me.
It is a bit expensive.
It's like a little taste I had.
So in Mastery we can find some of Ed's work.
Definitely some of Ed's, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. In fact, most...
it hasn't gone further than Ed though, it's...
well, Ed wasn't the distillery manager in the 70s.
That's right,
so it does touch on predecessors.
On Robert Brown. Okay, yeah, so 3 master distillers really will have participated in Mastery.
Three to blame.
Yeah.
Share the blame, it's always better.
If you've had a taste of Mastery, do let us know what you think. There aren't that many bottles in the world. I think it's 1,000.
No, there are 1,000 bottles.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting project. It combines different, obviously from different eras, different master distillers, and different cask types. So we're mixing port with sherry, with bourbon, with Madeira as well. So it's an interesting mix.
We have John asking, will we see some single cask releases?
Yes, yeah. Again, distillery exclusives are generally will be single cask, and there will be others. Probably, certainly I know of in the UK. Probably start to see some coming through more of the specialist retailers, and obviously on a general basis we always have a cask available at the distillery, the visitor centre, where you can come and fill your own bottle. And that's where I put a lot of my experiments out. So it's always going to be something different and something.
Do people do that often? The fill your own bottle?
We tend to. Probably a cask every 2 months. So
how many bottles is a cask?
Depends on the size, but generally about 200, 300.
Excellent. Is there any added colouring in Glen Moray whisky, and do you chill filter your youngest whiskies?
Yes, I'll be honest. If anybody asks me a question, I'm always honest. And colouring's a funny subject, but in single malts generally colour is added just to get the same colour per batch, because consumers do buy
bottle after bottle,
and they expect that
to have the same colour.
So you're adding a little, and we're not alone in that. So the honest answer, yes, but not a lot. Chill filtering. If the strength is below 46%, it has to be chill filtered.
I see, right.
Just to make it nice and crystal clear.
And I hope that answers your question. I've got a strange one here, Graham. Ask Graham, is it better being a distillery manager or a petrol pump attendant? Why do we have this question? I don't know. I'm not aware of this.
I think this might come from Vic Cameron.
Ah, yes, absolutely. Well done.
Yeah.
Spot on.
I've had a few jobs before I worked went into whiskey, but
I
one
didn't
of
know about this.
my school weekend job was at that day's working as a petrol pump attendant when you actually went out and filled people's cars with petrol.
Yeah.
So Vic and me, we went to school together and we worked together there. And there are stories which I won't tell on Facebook. But
Did you have any odd jobs like that before you worked here?
Well, as a schoolboy, yes. I was a message boy at a butcher.
At a butcher's. So what did you do? A message boy at the butcher's? You did the meat?
The orders to the customer.
You're on a bike, isn't it?
Yeah, on your bike.
Out in the morning, deliver.
Yeah. In Elgin?
No, in Dufftown.
Oh, in Dodson, yeah, that's right, okay.
Which is quite hilly, you'd be quite fit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why you're so fit today.
Look at me. I don't know if I will be able to get off the stool.
Just drink up, mate.
You'll
just fall off.
Have another dram, you'll be fine. Okay, well, not that many questions coming through. Maybe we can have a quick chat about Share, the new ad campaign that just came out, because I know that you were participating in the photo shoot, Ed. In fact, there's a photo of you and Graham on one of the posters. Was it the Share Time?
That's right, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
Well, a terrible experience.
Terrible experience, terrible. Okay.
Ed had a woman putting his hair in place.
That's nice.
He seemed to like that.
Yes.
You weren't offended by
How
that.
long did it take? Was it just a couple of days or a couple of hours?
A day or two.
A day or two, yeah.
Overall.
The first experience for you in the as a model.
Well, I've done a little before. But
I'm sorry.
Nothing. Not quite so demanding.
Yeah.
No.
But it was. Is it interesting to see how Glen Moray is evolving with the advertising and the Share campaign is wonderful. I mean, Glen Moray really is a whiskey to be shared. It's all about the authenticity of the people and the family feel here at the distillery and sharing a dram, sharing time, sharing experience.
Well, I'm very delighted to see Graham and the company, pushing Glen Moray and getting it out there, and their involvement with the local community as well. So it's really good.
And Ed's always been there to share his information, his expertise of distilling, and so it's
when you took over, Graham, did you get to spend a lot of time with Ed?
No. There wasn't much of a crossover in terms of work, but Ed was always there to.
If you had any questions, or
yes.
Yeah. Did it feel necessary at the time?
Where's the key for this? That kind of thing is very practical things.
Excellent.
But a lot of experience on the site at the distillery. We've two people with over 40 year experience, just now 40 years service. So.
Scotland. World whiskies.
Oh well, I like bourbon. So there's several bourbons.
Any names?
Well, Woodford Reserve and Knob Creek.
Knob Creek.
That's two.
Yeah. Okay.
Really?
Yep.
I had the fortune of getting to Australia with Glen Moray, so I've enjoyed Starward.
Yes.
Australian whiskey's really interesting, and I do like bourbon. I like rye. I like trying those things. The latest bottle, I'm looking at my usual idiot. What was the name of the
Stranahan?
It's Californian.
Yeah.
Californian whiskies, which I did try recently. So it's a lovely taste.
Lovely taste, yeah. Any special release to be sent to Canada? What does this mean? Special release to be sent to Canada?
Hopefully in the future, we are working to spread Glen Moray across the world.
Yep.
So yes, I can't say for certain at the moment, but we're definitely trying our best.
Okay, and another question here from Anne. Do you have a close working relationship with any of the other distilleries in Elgin, or do you not mix?
No, we do mix. We work closely with lots of distillers, because we still do what Ed would have done his time, is swap spirit between distilleries.
Oh, yeah.
More for blending than anything else, not for single malt purposes. But we do a good relationship with Gordon and MacPhail as well in Roma.
Yeah.
We they do a few things for us, and we swap a little bit of spirit.
Yeah.
You know, so we give them some decent Glen Moray, and we take back a little
And
bit
you
there.
take- yeah.
Ben Romer.
It works in both ways.
We're quite charitable that way.
Faye, possibly you could tell me what Frank's question is, because I don't see it here.
Frank Scott from Canada, who's a great supporter of the
I know
Whisky
Frank.
Festival and a friend of Graham and Ed's,
Yes.
is asking about Glen Moray 18-year-old,
Oh, yes.
and are you both pleased with the product, because it was obviously started in Ed's time and finished in Graham's.
That's an interesting question.
Ed has to say he likes it because he made it, so I'll call that getting out pause. But
I did buy a bottle of it, and it's
Yes.
finished.
Yeah, that goes to show.
Intent.
the 18-year-olds for me enjoy it because it's classic Glen Moray in bourbon casks. It's also at slightly higher strength, which many people have asked for
Okay.
Glen Moray. So I think it just hits the spot
Hits
on
the spot.
quite a few things. So yeah, well, I'm pleased. It's nice to see an older Glen Moray out there as well.
Yeah, the 18-year-old. So, Eddie, sorry your shed has gone. Ronnie
Yes.
Hydro.
Who was it from?
Ronald
Oh
Russell?
yeah. There were a couple of hydro guys used to come in the days when drams were on the go,
Yes.
and we used to have a shed where we served it from.
And so,
So
sorry your shed has gone.
Yeah, it's gone as far as I know.
It's gone, yeah. I think it's been in two or three different
It
locations.
survived my time. Although it wasn't used for drams
Yeah.
No.
in the latter years.
Colin, to both Ed and Graham, if you could only ever have one more dram and could choose any expression you want, what would you have and where would you choose to enjoy it?
That's a difficult one.
One more dram.
Have a think about that.
So
for us.
many to choose from. I was telling Faye before this started that the Glen Moray, it was a 1964 Glen Moray, and when I came here it was just after that I bottled it. It was absolutely beautiful. One of the best whiskies I've ever tasted.
A 1964.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
You don't think you could.
And that's
Might be a bottle, there will be bottles
There
of
might be a bottle of it.
collectors will have them, but otherwise. You've got one up there. Oh, that's
Oh.
all right.
Oh, I can see it, absolutely.
It's right behind you.
Yeah, I can see a 62, a 63 and a 64.
Well, the 64 was magic.
That was your favourite
Yeah.
one. Okay, and Graham? If you could
I
have
would-
one more dram?
I'd go for one that probably doesn't exist now,
Yeah.
unless somebody's got something hidden away.
Yeah.
And it would be a 1968 Glen Moray, because that's the
Is that your year?
That's my year. I've never seen one, but you never know. One might-
1968. So this
1968.
year is a special year for
This
you then?
big year.
A big year.
Big year. Yes.
Are you looking forward to that?
It'll be painless.
Yeah.
I'll take my medicine and I'll be fine.
Okay, well thank you very much to both of you. It's been real pleasure to speak with you both. I mean, it's really exclusive for us to have two master distillers together, so it's great for you to have come down, Ed. And
Thank you for inviting me along.
Yes. I hope
Thank you, Ed.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And cheers to you.
And cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for following us, everybody, and we'll see you soon on Facebook, on Twitter.